Welcome to the CAS Closing the Digital Divide, Access, Instruction, and Equity Virtual Conference. My name is Andre Hauser, and I'm the principal of Waterford High School and the president of the Connecticut Association of Schools. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the first of the 5 virtual sessions for this conference. If you haven't registered for each of the 5 sessions, it's still not too late to do so. We will drop the link to the registration flyer into the chat. You must register for each of the sessions individually if you plan to attend them. Before we get started, I would like to remind everyone that you will be muted throughout the session. Please use the chat to let us know if you're having any technical difficulties, as we will be watching the chat throughout the session. We've also turned on the Q&A feature, so if you have any questions for our keynote speaker later during this session, you can type them into the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to answer your questions. This session is being recorded and will be posted on the CAS website so that you can watch it again and share it with your family, faculty, staff, colleague, and friends. I hope the school year is off to a good start for all of you. This is one of my first appearances as the new president of the association, and today is also one of the first CAS professional development opportunities being offered in the distance learning format that our students have all gotten so used to in the last several months. Despite the need for social distance right now, CAS is always here to support you all in this new learning landscape. And I look forward to seeing you again at future workshops, online for now, and hopefully in person again before too long. We value all of our members, so much so that we are providing this conference for free for all schools that have paid their membership fee. And if you haven't done so yet, we encourage you to, as your support will help us continue to bring quality programs like this to administrators and schools across the state. Regardless of your role in education, what each of us is doing today is like nothing we could have predicted a year ago. The last 6 months have called for an incredible creativity, flexibility, and professionalism from educators nationwide, as we have packed a solid decade of educational innovation into less than a semester. As both the principal and the parent of 2 teens, I've been impressed over and again by what both our students and their teachers have managed to accomplish. But I've also come to realize just what a privilege it is for me to be able to say that. The pandemic has done more than just make our jobs as educators more challenging. It is also shining a spotlight on the ways that the lives of so many students were already challenging. Over the course of the spring and summer, I've been shocked to learn about just how many families struggle to access the resources they need for their kids to be successful. Whether that's access to the device and broadband needed, teachers who are well-versed in effective distance learning practices, or school and district policies that support equal access for all kids, it is up to us to make the promise of an equitable and high-quality education a reality for all Connecticut students. Your presence here today is helping us to bring the state one step closer to that goal. And with his long track record of work targeting learning divides, our next speaker is also leading our state closer to that goal. Dr. Miguel Cardona was appointed Commissioner of Education by Governor Ned Lamont in August of 2019. Dr. Cardona comes to the State Department of Education with 2 decades of experience as a public school educator from the city of Meriden. He began his career there as an elementary school teacher and then served as a school principal for 10 years. Miguel then transitioned to central office to lead the work of performance and evaluation in the district, and in 2013, he assumed the role of assistant superintendent for teaching and learning. Dr. Cardona served as the co-chairperson of the Connecticut Legislative Achievement Gap Task Force, as well as co-chairperson of the Connecticut Birth to 3 Leaders Council. He also taught for 4 years as an adjunct professor at UConn in the NEAG Educational Leadership Department. A lifelong Meriden resident and a product of its schools, Miguel is very active in his community, having served or currently serving on several nonprofit charitable organization boards of directors. His greatest source of pride, however, is his family. Miguel and his wife Marissa are the proud parents of 2 children. I don't think we've ever seen a Connecticut Commissioner of Education as much as we see Dr. Cardona. He's visible in the community and schools, frequently visiting schools across the state, including my own high school last January. And of course, since March, he's been a regular fixture at the governor's press conferences, advocating for the needs of all Connecticut school children. We greatly appreciate that. And we also appreciate him taking time out of his busy schedule to be here with us this morning. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Commissioner Dr. Miguel Cardona.
Thank you very much, Andre, for that introduction and for the work you're doing. It's nice to see you in a schoolhouse, Waterford School, high school there, and the work that you do. Thank you for what you're doing. I want to thank CAS also. I see Rosie, I see Bill, Karen, and I know Glenn is on listening also. Just the work that you're doing to promote quality teaching and learning, that can't stop. It's more important now than ever, and you're doing your part, and I appreciate that. And a very special thank you to all of you who are listening in or viewing for taking time out of your day to continue your professional learning and your professional growth during this time of pandemic. It can't stop. If anything, it has to move quicker, and you've signed up despite the thousands of things you have on your plate. I appreciate that. And to the building administrators out there that are listening, I just want a special message to you. You make it happen. You know, plans are only as good as the paper they're written on. The implementation of the plan is what matters. And at the end of the day, the building principal, the one with the keys to the building, has to make sure it works. So I really tip my hat to you. I know you're doing the work 24/7. You know, usually summer is a time where you get a chance to breathe a little bit, spend some time with your family. You sacrificed that this summer, and you did it so that our kids in Connecticut have an opportunity to be in school in a safe way. And I just want to thank you for that. That's amazing. I appreciate all you've done for our kids. As I said, I want to thank CAS for focusing on teaching and learning. You know, that you look at the headlines, you would think that all we're doing is putting out fires. No, we're focusing on teaching and learning because we know that that's what's going to make a difference for Connecticut kids. And Connecticut educators have always stepped up. There's a reason why Connecticut schools rank so well. Nothing has changed. We're going to still keep our focus on teaching and learning. You know, what an impressive day you have planned today. I was looking at the agenda between Dr. Fisher talking about how to engage learners online, the panel discussion with all-stars from throughout the state. These are names of people that I recognize that really just what a wealth of knowledge that you're going to have on that panel a little bit later. And Dr. Freiberg reminding us, listen, it's still about relationships. It's still about that emotional safety. How are we promoting that during this time? And Josh closing it out with how not to allow technology to become a distraction. I think we've all been there. How do we make sure we stay focused on the things that matter through technology? It's a great day, and then it's going to get capped off by 3 principals of the year. Like, what a lineup today. Great job, CAS. Thank you for doing that. What a great way to start a year of professional growth and learning for our educators in Connecticut. And thank you for your role, CAS. You know, it's funny, connected to this, one of the articles that I've really throughout my career really focused a lot on, or really kind of leaned into, was Michael Fullen's article, choosing the wrong drivers for whole system reform. Okay, this is done like in 2011. So Michael Fullen said that, you know, you got to lead with the right drivers. And at the in 2011, he said, technology versus instruction. You can't lead with technology being the driver. Instruction is the driver. And, you know, when districts lead reforms with technology being the driver, they get it wrong. That was his thesis then. And instruction and pedagogy are still the drivers. And I thought to myself, well, how does that lend itself in 2020 when, for so many of our learners, the best way to get to the pedagogy, the relationships, the learning is through technology? We have a unique challenge, but I think we can do it. And I think some of the topics that are scheduled for today are really going to address that. So that's fantastic that we know we need technology more than ever, and we have to close that digital divide. But how do we utilize technology to get to those things that we know our students need to be successful, those relationships that Freiberg is going to talk about, not letting it be a distraction? How do we engage learners through technology? That's exciting. Those are exciting topics. The topics that you're bringing up today are really cutting edge. And then the idea of equity. You know, all summer we've really been focused on how do we open up our schools with equity at the forefront of our conversations, and how do we as educational leaders really make equity the core of what we do. I've always believed equity it's not a topic, it's not a department, It's not a person. It's not it has to be interwoven in everything that we do. And let me tell you, what we're doing today is really about equity for Connecticut. Closing that digital divide in more ways than just saying, here's a device to a student. It's really saying the connectivity's there. The device is quality. But sometimes we leave out the part that I think is equally as important. It's a three-legged stool, is the content. So when you have the device, when you have the broadband or whatever it is to connect, what are the kids being exposed to? Is it high quality? Is it rigorous? It's going to challenge them. Is there a gap between what experience the children have online, and is it predictable based on the zip code in Connecticut? What are we doing as leaders to talk about that, to challenge that, to confront that? That's the equity work of leadership. It's not easy, and it requires a lot of reflection on what we're doing and how we can continue to grow. And you being here today is an example of what you're doing to promote equity and access. Critical topics that if we don't address, we're just going to exacerbate gaps in outcomes. And we know in the spring, I don't have to tell anyone on this call, that they grew exponentially, the access gaps. And our job now is to really address that, be serious about talking about it, and move forward with our actions. So thank you for being a part of that. Your work is a high leverage strategy. Today, the work of technology and access. I'm really proud of the all-star lineup here. I'm really proud of CAS's work and all of our educational partners to come together around these topics. Thank you for the invitation. Most importantly, for those of you that are listening, thank you for what you're doing day in and day out to make sure that kids in Connecticut, all 530,000 of them, have the best opportunity for success. And there's no playbook here. There's no binder that you're going to pull off a shelf to say pandemic planning. We're doing this based on what we think is good for kids, and we're working with our partners in ways that we've never had before, and we're learning and we're growing. You're modeling it. I appreciate it. Thank you for the invitation. I wish you the very best today and a successful and productive year. Thank you for giving me a few minutes here. I wish you the very best. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Commissioner Cardona, for your inspiring words. Now, Miguel mentioned a moment ago, educators in the headlines, and we rarely see them there as much as we have the last few months, and none more so recently than our next speaker. In August of 2018, Glenn Lomborini became CAS-CIAC's executive director. Glenn comes to CAS-CIAC after serving 19 years in public education as a coach, teacher, department chair, athletic director, assistant principal, and principal. In addition to his variety of teaching and administrative experiences, Glenn has also enjoyed an extensive athletic career. Glenn's coaching career has included experiences with boys and girls at the middle school, high school, and Division I collegiate level. Glenn earned a Bachelor of Science in Physical Education at Eastern Connecticut State University back in '98, a Master of Science in Exercise Science and Physiology from Southern Connecticut in 2006, and an administrative certification from Sacred Heart University in 2006. Glenn continues to grow as a learner as he pursues his doctorate in educational leadership at North Central University. We're very fortunate to have Glenn Lomborini at the helm of CAS-CIAC. We know how busy he is as we watch him in the news almost every day, especially over the past couple of weeks. So we greatly appreciate him being here with us this morning. It is now my pleasure to introduce Executive Director Glenn Lomborini.
Andre, thank you so much for the opportunity to welcome everybody this morning. You know, it's why I come to you today after just dropping my daughter off at high school. So just stepping aside on the road here to say good morning to you. And, you know, one of the conversations I had with my daughter on the way in this morning was, tell me what you're really enjoying about school and what you're missing. And her reflection on that early in her first, 2 weeks of school here was that, Dad, it's great to be back and learning. I'm really enjoying my classes. Even the online portion is going okay. It's much better than what we experienced last year. So she's seeing that. But her reflection as well is that, even though we're in school a little bit, I still miss my friends. It's still not the same because we just don't have those normal experiences yet. And I think as Commissioner Cardona touched on and as Andre touched on as well, that's an important part that we're still learning with closing this digital divide, is how do we maintain those relationships, and how do we meet those needs of our kids. As we know, if we capture their hearts, we capture their minds, and we can grow much further, both in our social emotional well-being as well as the cognitive goals that we have for our kids in curriculum and education. So the work we're doing here today is so important, not just because we're in a pandemic, but because this is the future of where learning continues to go. And the more we can perfect that of our craft, the better relationships, the better experiences we're going to give our kids now and in the future. Thank you for everybody for your willingness to come on and share with our educators in Connecticut your expertise and help us grow as professionals. We're all in this together, and in the end, we're going to give our kids exceptional experiences. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy your conference.